Hey, what's good? What's good, bro? What's good? I was thinking about a good video to react to because I'm gonna do my reaction videos every chance I get and find me some good videos to react to. So we reacting to anything, any type of videos, any videos that can spark some conversation that can make us laugh, make us think, whatever. Everybody have different perspectives. Everybody come from different walks of life, and so I'd be real intrigued. I am intrigued by hearing different people perspectives on different, you know, hot topics and stuff like that, and understanding what people saying and what people coming from. And so today we gonna watch like a video. I don't know if we're gonna watch the whole video, but I'm gonna react to this guy. He random too. I don't know, like I don't never watched him before. I don't know what his thoughts is or nothing. But we about to react to should men pay first on dates? Should men be obligated to pay for first dates? I'm gonna react to this video, then I'm gonna say how I feel about it, and then you can say how you feel about it in the comments. But make sure you like the video. Let's react to it. Let's see what he said.
So in this we're talking about on dates. There's a question of who should pay on dates, whether you should split the bill, whether he should pay the bill, or whether she should pay the bill. I'm going to read this post here for some frame and then offer some commentary on how I think stuff like this should be handled. This is a really, really good example, so pay attention here. He says, I'm 28, met a woman who's 28 as well on a dating app a couple weeks ago. We've been on 3 dates and everything's been going well so far except for one thing. She never offers to pay. The first date cost about 60 bucks altogether, which I paid, of course. The second date cost about 80, and when the bill came, I paused. She didn't say anything. I asked her what she wanted to do, and she still didn't say anything. And then I asked her to split it. The third date was about $100 altogether, and basically the same thing happened when the bill came. I decided to address the elephant in the room and asked her what she thinks about paying for dates. We talked about it for a long time, and she never really reached an understanding. That's interesting. She says that she finds it attractive when the man pays and believes he should because it shows interest. I basically said the opposite. I find that it's attractive when the woman offers to split because it shows that she's interested in me and not just my wallet. To me, a relationship should have both people on equal footing, both contribute.
How you feel about that? That was a good point. How you feel about that? How do you feel about the way both sides look at paying for it, right? Like the woman is looking at it as if this man is really interested in me, he's going to pay for it. And then the man looking at it like if you're interested in me, you would at least offer to pay for it. Like how you like what's I like that. What you think about that? That's cool.
If I get a girlfriend, I want to feel like a partner. But it goes with, I'm feeling very conflicted right now and not sure what to do. It would pain me to break things off over this because I quite like her and we've been getting along well in every other way. But I really don't want to be dating somebody who expects me to pay for everything, especially since she has a good job and probably makes just as much money as I do. Am I being unreasonable? Should I compromise on this? All right, so this is an interesting conversation because I've been the guy that wants to split the bill. You know, they used to call this going Dutch. Maybe they still do. And I've also been the guy that just pays for everything I go out. And it really depends on what stage of life you are in and what belief system you subscribe to. Our friend over here, this gentleman, believes in the egalitarian soulmate sort of myth, where it's like, we both contribute equally to everything. So I feel like, and I've said this before, it's, guys that are more plugged into a feminine side and still a tool of the matrix sort of thing will often start sentences with, I feel like, and he said that a few times, like, I feel like, we should just split the bill or I'm being used for my wallet rather than her showing genuine interest in me. And that's a fair argument. I've said in chapter 3 of my book, women that have genuine burning desire will basically break rules for you. So there's some weight to that, if that makes sense. So if you subscribe to
And let me say that's super true. So I don't think it's wrong. Nobody wants to be used either side, right? Nobody wants to feel like they being used. That they're going on dates with somebody, and that person is basically going on a date with them just to get a free whatever, right? Like nobody wants that feeling, and so you try to put safeguards up to protect yourself from that happening, and you wind up in situations like this. And but one thing he said is true, and I know this from experience. A person who really likes you will break the rules for you. I've actually been on dates like it's rare, but I've been on dates where women have offered to pay for the date. Like they're like, no, I got this. You don't have to work. Like, I'm gonna pay for it. Like I've been on those dates. It's rare, but they do happen.
this mindset. where we make the same amount of money. That's one of the things that he points out is, she does a good job and she makes the same amount of money, which is interesting because women are always, all about feminism and, we need to be equal and everybody gets paid the same for the same job and all that sort of stuff, which is fine. But when the bill comes, they're busy looking at their phone or doing their makeup or something like that in a mirror. And of course, like I mentioned, I did play that role when I was younger, where you kind of had the expectation that chicks would sort of contribute. And by the same token, when you're a young man in your 20s, you're usually not making bucks deluxe. You're usually kind of making an average sort of middle class income if you're lucky at that time, especially if you're working a job. Job, by the way, I call it an acronym for just over broke. But you tend to have the expectation because you've been told your entire life, especially for a younger guy in his 20s. I mean, I'm a lot older than that, but even in my 20s, I was still told at that time men and women are equal, feminism is good, blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. You kind of had the expectation that women would pay for things. And I think when you're dealing with very attractive, more classy type of women that come from money, they sort of have that expectation in their 20s that you're going to pay for stuff, even if they're subscribed to the notion of equalism, to feminism, and what's good for the goose is good for the gander. They don't generally go Dutch. They sort of are used to being taken care of. Now, when you meet a lot of women on dating apps, let's be honest, there's not a lot of nines and tens on there. You're going to probably find yourself in a position where you're thinking to yourself, we're about the same. She has about the same job. We're a pretty good fit. We have a lot of fun. Let's go out on a date. I'll spend $60. Doesn't really care about on the first date. The second date, the bill comes. He doesn't really say anything. He just kind of stares at her. She looks the other way. And then he brings it up on the third date. And probably by then, she's starting to think that he's cheap. That's usually what's going through a chick's head at that time. Is
I have this debate with women all the time about this. And so in some situations you can say like there are, some examples of maybe it is because the man cheap or whatever. But I tell women the same way that you get tired of going through the process of dating, men get tired too. Some things just look different for us because of the expectations that come from either side, right? Like it just look different. Like for women, I don't want a man who's gonna would you doing me to death. I want a man who's gonna plan. I want a man who's gonna order because those things to you are indicators of interest. So like if a man just goes out his way to plan this extravagant date, like do this thing that's super creative, to you that's an indicator, right? And like you've been through this process so many times that like you've heard all the same words before, you've seen the same gestures, so you're trying to decipher it, and it gets tiresome to go through it. And the same thing is true for men, because one of the expectations is that we pay for whatever's happening, and so it do get to a point where it's like, my nigga, can we go sit and look at the moon together and get to know each, like, because it does get like to a point where it's like, bro, I'm just putting out and putting out, and the expectation is that I put out and put out and put out and put out and put out, and like this ain't happening. Like this pre-investment I'm making is just not. It's not hitting. Can we go just sit somewhere and talking? So sometimes it is. It can be true that the person's being cheap, but also it's because the person like, man, look, I'm at a point where I genuinely just want to get to know you, and that don't mean that I don't want to court you or wine and dine you. But can we like try to build this connection? Like see if you really like me, I can do all the great things too. But you know.
why is this guy so cheap? Why is he treating me like a woman when I should be treated like a woman? And I have all kinds of reason for it. I spent all this money on my hair, my nails. I took 3 hours to get ready, look pretty for him, blah, 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 sort of thing. So, to the guy that's all about the equalism, here's what I would say. I would say if you're dealing with a woman like this and you're in your 20s and you're going out on dates and you spent 60, 80, and then $100, you've already blown well over $200 at this time. I don't know what stage of the dating phase you're at, whether or not she's expressed genuine desire, whether or not you've been intimate or any of those things. But generally speaking, you shouldn't be going out spending all kinds of money on all kinds of dates all the time. Dates don't have to be expensive. I've seen this before. A first date for most guys, even for me, if I was going to go out and start dating again, even for me, it would be easy. First date would be like a drink or an hour because for me, it's a sniff test. I don't want to get myself in a situation where I'm sitting down for several hours. She might be batshit crazy. She may not look like her photographs. There's any number of things that can happen. Lots of guys get catfished. It should be a quick and easy 1 hour thing. And it's as simple as you go out, you get a coffee. I would often recommend get a coffee, go for a stroll in the park. You get to walk around, you get some fresh air, you get to check her out as you're walking and really see what she's made of. There's lots of things that you can do in that hour of time and conversations that you can have. Or if it's later on in the evening, patio, you can sit down, have a drink or two, something like that. And again, it's a quick hour. You can see what she's made of, see if she has genuine desire. It doesn't cost you a lot of money. A drink or two won't be a vast fortune in most restaurants or coffee shops, for example. So there's that. Then, by around the second or third day, start doing stuff that doesn't require going out and impressing her and spending a lot of money on bills. In fact, if you want to invite her over and do something like a dinner or a cheese fondue with a little bit of wine.
See, and I don't know if this comes down to culture or whatever, but see that right there, sir. It sounds good, but again, and this is my take. Women, depending on the woman, always get invited to the guy's house. Always get invited to the guy's place. They're used to that. That's not a gesture to most of them that you like me. That's a gesture that you're just trying to, you know, make it clap. And so they side eye that a little bit, depending on who you're talking to. They side eye like the whole invite me to your place thing. Like that's not like a grand gesture to them. You like really got to do a lot of pre-work so that they know, like, no, it's not like that. I'm trying to do this, blah blah blah. Like it's a, yeah, it's not like.
It's cheaper. Plus, you have an opportunity to escalate things at that point if the timing might be right. She could also invite you over to her place, to do something for you, which would be a nice, generous offer as well. Now, the flip side of the coin, which is the place that I'm at today, is when I go out, my girlfriend doesn't pay for anything. It's like if we're going out to dinner, I'm not going to argue with her about who's paying. She's trying to pull this, before early on, where it's like, well, let me get this one or let me treat you, sort of thing. And it's like, if it's something special, like it's my birthday or something like that, then it's like, fine, I don't have a problem with her treating me. Personally, I'd rather her make a meal for me at the house because to me, that shows greater investment than taking me out and then sitting down and buying me dinner. Like, I can buy whatever the hell I want, right? So at this stage of the game, I want her to understand that my frame is the dominant frame in the relationship. And money happens to be part and parcel of that. Some people might be like, oh, you're buying her or whatever. And I'm going to tell you something. If you've done something with your life and you've become a man of some value, you've put a dent in the universe, and women view you as a guy that is at that level, that high value man, it shouldn't even be a conversation piece. To post stuff like this online, like, I like this girl and I'm taking her out on 3 dates and she won't, pull out her wallet. That's pretty much most women, right? So in exchange for me taking her out, showing her a good time, providing in that sense, I expect her to reciprocate, but in other areas. When she's over at my place and maybe she stayed over for the night, does she make the bed in the morning? If she sees that there's some laundry, does she take the initiative and do it? If she sees that the dishwasher is clean, does she empty it? Does she become a compliment to my life, basically, is what I'm saying. If I'm going to go and do that work, if I'm going to go and make the money, if I'm going to take her out and take her out to a nice sushi restaurant or out for an evening or something like that, if there's dressing up that's involved, I have no issue paying for it. It's not a big deal, especially, when you've gotten to the stage where you're an entrepreneur or you're a business owner. There's many different ways that you can run certain things as expenses. Client meals and entertainment, for example, seems to be a popular one. So it shouldn't be something that is contentious. Again, if you're providing some value and you're taking her out and you're treating her like a lady, good, but make sure that she's treating you like her man. Make sure she treats you like her king. Because if you're only, giving her value on one side of the equation, but she's not reciprocating somewhere else where she should be as a feminine woman, because there's blue jobs and there's pink jobs at that stage that I'm looking at. And a blue job for a man is taking her out on the date. A pink job for a woman might be, making me a coffee in the morning, for example. So these things need to balance themselves somewhere out in the universe, if you will. So I hope that offers some clarity and some feedback on that notion. I think it's an interesting conversation. And again, it all depends on your worldviews and your values. Mm-hmm. Younger guys like that, or guys that are all about going Dutch or splitting the bill, that's something to contemplate. You may or may not want to.
So look, how do y'all feel about dating? Do you feel it's fair? Do you feel we have unfair expectations on each other? What's your viewpoint on it? Are you more traditional? Are you more progressive? Are you more like like me, for example? I'm more gray area with dating, and what that means is I'm a mixture of different things. So like in some ways I may fall in line more traditional. In some ways I may be more progressive, but I'm gray because I think when you're dating somebody, it can be dangerous to come in with like um uh expectations You should have non-negotiables for you. And that's different than having expectations on them. And what I mean is, I'm just not. And life has taught me this. Life has taught me this. You never, you never basically um, you never want to just project on somebody what they lived experiences are. You don't know what that woman or man has been through in life. You don't know what they haven't been through. You don't know what they've been exposed to. You don't know what they have been exposed to. You don't know. You don't know what their thing is, right? So, you know, the reason why I shy away from more traditional ways is because more traditional people have a set of expectations, surface level, that a person should come with, right? A certain skill set that people should come with, like women should come with these certain. I don't believe in all those things. I because I just know life is different for everybody, and everybody don't have the same skill sets. It don't mean that you can't obtain those skill sets. But for me to like be on a date with you and you tell me I can't cook, and then I'd be like, oh, I can't date like that. To me, that's stupid. I'm not going to give you a chance because you don't have a skill that can be learned, right? That's to me that's stupid. Like we put too much investment in the surface level things of people, the things that actually can be learned. We put all our investment in those things, right? And not enough investment into them as a person. And so if you have the insight, right? If the intangibles are aligned with my intangibles, if the value system, if you have the characteristics of a person who I know I can really move forward with, that's what I care about. Because then we can have all those conversations, right? And even for myself, like if there are things that you would like to see, right? Like you understand that I'm Antonio, I'm me, but I'm open, right? And so then we go from there. And that's why for me, dating is big to date people who are open because you can figure out all the surface level things, in my opinion. Those things can be figured out. Like those things can be learned. What you can't change or figure out is who a person is at their core. So, for example, a man or woman can come in and exhibit all of the things you love on a surface level, but at their core, y'all don't align at all, and you only stand attached to them because of the surface level stuff. That's gonna be a hard life for you. But that's your decision to make. But leave a comment and let me know how you date. What you feel about dating? Do you feel like men should pay on the first date? Feel like they should go half? What's your reason? But just make sure if you do comment, you're not insulting people for their perspective. Like whatever you feel is what you feel, and however you go with that is how you go with that. But I appreciate y'all. Like the video, comment. Let me know what y'all think about dating.